Welcome. My name is Dr. Eric Shoemake, and we are talking about leaky gut today and how to heal a leaky gut. So let's get into why the gut is so important, first of all. So Hippocrates, the founder of modern medicine, said all diseases begin in the gut. And it turns out he was correct. Now that science has caught up to this, all of these things have been linked to a problem in your gut. So we're talking about autoimmune disorders like MS, fibromyalgia, lupus. All of those things have been linked to leaky gut or a gut issue. Brain disorders and cognitive decline. I'm going to talk about the gut-brain connection today in a few minutes, because if there's a problem with your gut, it actually affects the blood-brain barrier and allows things into the brain that shouldn't be there, causing things like cognitive decline, sleep issues, depression, anxiety, all kinds of different mental disorders. Cancer, because of the inflammation that it causes, fatigue and joint pain, mood disorders that we just talked about, learning disabilities, infertility, allergies, asthma, food sensitivities. All of these things come from your gut. So it's very important that we take care of that because our guts are under a constant assault, especially in the United States, with all the additives and the things that I'm going to talk about today. So there's things that they're sprayed on your food like glyphosate. There's additives in your food. There's all kinds of different genetically modified crops. And all of those things actually damage the gut lining and can cause all of those issues that we just talked about. So the symptoms that we're talking about, one of those would be immunity. So if you're constantly getting sick and you're having colds and flus and expressing symptoms in those areas, a big part of that could be from your gut. Actually, 70% of your immune system is housed in your gut because of the good and bad bacteria that are in your gut. That's why antibiotics are such a bad idea generally, and antibiotics should only be used to save your life, not every time you get a sinus infection or something else. So if you've taken antibiotics in the past, it's a good sign that you have leaky gut and there's something that you can do about it, which is what this video is all about. So what are the signs specifically of leaky gut? I'm going to get into what it actually is in a minute, but I want to talk about what the signs are first of all. So leaky gut basically happens when the junctions between the cells in your gut don't function properly, and it allows things into your bloodstream that should never be there. And it can cause a systemic reaction in your entire body. So one of the symptoms would be digestive issues. That's like abdominal discomfort, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea. If you have any of those, that's a sign of leaky gut. Neurological things would be like headaches, anxiety, mood changes, brain fog, fatigue. Those are all signs of leaky gut. Musculoskeletal joint pain. So if your joints hurt, arthritis, fibromyalgia, which means muscle pain. Skin issues like acne, rashes, eczema, if your kids have eczema, or if you have psoriasis, again, signs of leaky gut. So if you put all of those things together, we've seen a huge rise in allergies and asthma. We've seen Alzheimer's disease go through the roof, autism spectrum disorder go through the roof. Kids on the autism spectrum, very, very common to have gut issues. Very common to have gut issues. Arthritis. Again, we just talked about autoimmune disorders, liver conditions, even like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease can be linked back to leaky gut. So if you're watching this right now, a really good safe assumption would be that you have some degree of leaky gut, and I'm going to have a protocol with the three R's and specifically what you do about it. So let's go ahead and dive into what this looks like. So leaky gut happens when the junctions between your spine, okay, so are between your spine, sorry, between the cells in your gut. When you have these things called tight junctions right here, that keeps these things out that should not be let into your bloodstream, right? So this is a junction, a tight junction right here. So there's a wall that protects the inside of your digestive system from the bloodstream, which is in here. What happens when these tight junctions break down, they're through a protein called zonulin gets involved, then things start to get into the bloodstream that should not be there. So that could be things like toxins, microorganisms, these things that affect your body in different ways. All kinds of different things can get into the gut. And when it gets it or get into the bloodstream, and when it gets into the bloodstream, it causes this IgG immune response. It can also cause an IgA reaction. And this is basically your immune system freaking out. So one of the things that would get in through this leaky gut are called LPSs or lipopolysaccharides. So that's stuff that should stay in the gut and get passed out through your gut. But these little things can get into the bloodstream that should never be there, again, through these no longer tight junctions. So when these things get into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there, like all of these little things that we're talking about, these microorganisms and toxins, what kind of symptoms are we going to get? Nutrient malabsorption. So you're going to have problems with foods like food sensitivity. So certain foods can drive you crazy. Autoimmune disorders that we just talked about. Food intolerances that I just discussed a second ago. So maybe dairy is a problem for you, or gluten is a problem for you, or certain foods like certain berries can be an issue for people, or yeast. Those types of things can be problems for certain people. Again, it's because the gut is not doing its job of keeping these tight junctions tight. Also, the blood-brain barrier gets affected. So now things are allowed into the brain. These lipopolysaccharides and these things that should not be into your bloodstream, not only get into your bloodstream, they also cross the blood-brain barrier and get into the brain. So that can cause things like brain fog, that can cause depression, that can cause anxiety. All of these things can happen. And then systemic inflammation is one of the big things that happens here. So that's where you would have issues with digestion, arthritis type pain, allergy type issues. All of those things, again, come from leaky gut. So what we want to do is make sure that these barriers stay barriers, and if you don't have the normal tight junctions, we want to repair those tight junctions so the stuff that should be out of the bloodstream should stay out of the bloodstream. And then the stuff that should be allowed in is allowed in, but not things that shouldn't be allowed to pass through those tight junctions there. So the way that we do that is very simple. We start a process to get rid of the things that cause this in the first place. So these are what I call the 3 R's of gut healing. And the first R is going to be remove. Okay, so we want to remove the things that cause leaky gut in the first place. So what are the things that cause leaky gut? Well, one of them, we're going to go through these top 4 foods. The first one is sugar and artificial sweeteners. Okay, sugar and artificial sweeteners. Sugar can cause leaky gut because we eat way too much sugar in the United States. That causes a breakdown, and it attacks the protein called zonulin that keeps those tight junctions tight. And then the other issue would be artificial sweeteners. So there's a study here that says artificial sweeteners induce glucose intolerance by altering the gut microbiota. So if you go back to that last slide here, when you affect the gut microbiota and you affect these different microorganisms, then you're going to start to have issues with blood sugar control, but you're also going to have an inflammation of the gut. Inflammation of the gut breaks down those tight junctions and causes leaky gut. So cutting down on sugar, avoiding things that have sugar in them, right? We eat far too much sugar in our country. If you want to do our advanced nutrition plan, there's a whole other video on Axiom Answers called the Advanced Nutrition Plan that teaches you how to really get rid of sugar. But in order to do that, you can use sugar alternatives. We just don't want you to use artificial sweeteners. Okay, so we don't want you to use things like sucralose, which is Splenda. We don't want you to use aspartame, which is Equal. That's the blue packet. We would want you to use some of these different alternatives that are much healthier for you. And if you see like sugar, this is per serving size. So sugar is the cheapest. But if you look over here at stevia, which is much better for you, still doesn't cost a ton. I use monk fruit, which is a much better sweetener than sugar because it doesn't have any blood sugar effects. It doesn't affect your gut. It doesn't cause leaky gut. Doesn't cause your blood sugar to go up. Still only 34 cents. So, this is a quote that I always say is if you think health is expensive, try disease. So yeah, you can get this in a very cheap fashion. Sugar's really cheap, but it's not cheap to have diabetes. Ask my grandmother who had, parts amputated. It's not cheap to end up in a nursing home because you have Alzheimer's, but that's what's happening when you're choosing the cheap route. So by spending, a few extra dimes for something like monk fruit or something like stevia, you're going to be much better off. So getting rid of sugar and getting rid of artificial sweeteners. So start using these other type of sweeteners that are much better for you that don't have those same issues with leaky gut. So that would be the number 1. You've got to get rid of sugar. Number 2 is we want to get rid of one of the main offenders of leaky gut, and that is gluten. Okay. Now people always ask, what is gluten? Is it really that bad for you? And the answer is yes, because most gluten in the United States, which is the protein in wheat, okay, so that would be wheat bread, pasta, those things. Those have gluten, and it's been genetically modified and changed from the ancient grain that it used to be. So grain in Europe, for instance, or grain several hundred years ago used to be a much bigger crop. The plant used to be really tall. Now it's very small. It's been genetically modified. Our bodies, which have been evolving for over millions of years, don't have the ability to deal with this. It's also been sprayed with something called glyphosate. 9 times out of 10, these cereal grains or these bread grains, especially if they're not organic, they've been sprayed with a chemical called glyphosate that Monsanto makes, which directly damages your gut and affects the blood-brain barrier. It's been linked to cancer. Like hundreds of different lawsuits have been paid out to victims of glyphosate, which is it's the Roundup is the chemical name for it. And you notice they don't sell Roundup in Home Depot anymore, but they still spray it on your crops all the time. So you want to get rid of gluten and white flour. Again, this is a 30 to 60 day program that I'm going to talk about. You don't have to do this forever, but you got to do this for at least 30 days to repair this. Okay. So when I'm trying to really do well with my nutrition and I want to repair my gut, I'm avoiding gluten. So I can do rice, especially if it's organic, because that's not gluten. I could do oats. I could do quinoa or something like that. I just don't want to do gluten, which is the bread products. Okay, so that would be bread, pasta, and those things. So what I do instead is replace those things with different, flours. So like for instance, instead of a normal wheat or flour tortilla, which has all kinds of gluten, I'll do something instead, which would be like almond flour or cassava flour, and that's the Siete brand right here. Okay, so this is one of my favorite ones. You can get these most grocery stores. You can definitely get them at Vitamin Cottage, Natural Grocers. You can get these at Sprouts or any of those places. So cassava flour or almond flour are fine because they don't have gluten. They're not sprayed with glyphosate. You can see down here it says non-GMO organic right there, which means it's not sprayed with glyphosate. And you can still have your tacos, you can still have your breakfast burrito or whatever you're going to have, but you're just going to use an alternative flour. Same thing with like instead of pasta, you can do like cauliflower pasta. So this pasta cauliflower up here, much better for you, no gluten. Instead of regular crackers, you can have almond flour crackers. Again, no gluten. So I didn't say you couldn't have tortillas or pasta or crackers. You just can't have the gluten because gluten is one of the main culprits when it comes to leaky gut. So we want to get rid of the gluten. Again, if you want to watch the whole video on the advanced nutrition plan, you can go to Axiom Answers on YouTube, download that 30 minutes. And then there's a link on there with a whole meal plan for 30 days. So if you just want to do the advanced nutrition plan during this 30 days of repairing your gut, you're going to kill two birds with one stone. And there's a lot of benefits for that. And then we'll show you the supplements that you need to take care of in just a minute as well. Damage or alter fats. That's another thing. These bad fats cause leaky gut as well. So bad fats would be the ones that cause inflammation. So these would be things like canola oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil, cottonseed oil. You've probably heard people talk about seed oils and how bad they are for you. Like RFK is talking about this a lot now. He's 100% right on. This has been going on for 5-6 years. People have been talking about how bad seed oils are for you. Because they cause inflammation, they cause brain fog, they cause depression and anxiety, they clog up your arteries. They're really bad for you. So sunflower oil, cottonseed oil, grapeseed oil, all of those things, you want to avoid those. Canola oil, you'd want to avoid that. Soybean oil, avoid that, especially hydrogenated soybean oil. Those are trans fats. What are these going to be in? Most packaged junky foods that you really shouldn't be eating anyway. So if you're reading a food label, you want to make sure it doesn't have these oils in it. The oils that you would want to use instead would be things like coconut oil. Super good for you, very anti-inflammatory. Avocado or avocado oil, that's my go-to. So instead of using something like canola oil or vegetable oil when you cook, using avocado oil, much better for you. Ghee, which is clarified butter, great for you. Olive oil, flaxseed oil, all these good nuts and seeds right here. Eggs with the yolk. All of those things are great fats that actually reduce inflammation in the gut and help to repair that gut lining. So we want to get rid of the bad fats, and most of these bad fats are going to come from, again, processed food. It's going to come from processed junky food. So eat more things that don't come in wrappers. And if they do come in wrappers, you want to make sure you read the fats and you want to eat the fats that are good for you right here. So pretty straightforward there. And then the other thing that we want to do is repair. Okay. So we want to repair the different things that have gone wrong inside of your gut. So in order to do that, there's a few supplements that you need to take. And then again, this is a 30-day protocol to repair your gut. So this is what I would recommend for 30 days. The first thing that I would recommend is taking digestive enzymes. So when you eat an apple, it has all the enzymes that your body needs to digest it. Unfortunately, when you eat apple pie, all those enzymes are dead. And what happens is because of all the processed food that we've eaten. And by the way, in the United States, over 75% of our foods, our calories come from ultra processed gas station food. It doesn't mean it's Twinkies at the gas station. It's the Doritos that are in the grocery store. It's the cereal that you're eating. It's the 1 minute oats, the ultra processed stuff that has no enzymes. And since it has no enzymes, it robs the enzymes from your body, your pancreatic enzymes. So you go into an enzyme deficit, and then things are getting into your stomach and into your gut that have not been broken down at all, and that causes leaky gut. So what we want to do is make it easy for your stomach and small intestine to absorb and break down the foods it's supposed to. In order to do that, you want to start taking digestive enzymes. So this is the plant enzyme formula from Designs for Health. You can get all of this at our office. Also, I'm going to put a link in the video to our online store where you can get all of these same prices as what you would get in the office, and there's free shipping. I think it's over $50. So that's how you can get these. If you pick these up at some of the seminars that we do, you can go ahead and start taking them now. You know what you're doing it for. But you want to take plant enzymes every time you eat for 30 days. So if you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you want to take one capsule, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay. There's 90 capsules in here. It's a 30-day supply, assuming that you're going to eat 3 times a day. So this is going to last you 30 days. Inexpensive, really, really helps with things like digestive problems, including acid reflux and heartburn. But again, it makes it easy for your stomach and your small intestine to digest. So it starts taking pressure off of the gut to allow it to repair itself. So that's digestive enzymes. Second thing that's very important, omega-3 fatty acids. Okay. So you can get that from, things like pecans and almonds, from fish, especially salmon, flax seeds. But the best way to get it by far is by taking fish oil. Okay. Fish oil, because what does fish oil do, or omega oils? It reduces inflammation in the body. So this is a great study out of the Journal of Biochemistry. It said effective dietary fatty acids on inflammatory gene expression in healthy adults, which means if you have genes that get switched on and cause inflammation, which is bad for you, fish oil actually mutes those genes and stops them from being expressed. Now, what's really important about the type of fish oil that you take is these little words right down here, EPA and DHA. Notice this does not just say fish oil right here. It says omega ovale hypo, high potency. So this has 1,500 milligrams of EPA and DHA. So if you get the junky fish oil from King Soopers or something like that, or GNC, it's just going to have fish oil, but it doesn't have EPA and DHA. EPA and DHA are both shown to be very effective for anti-inflammatory, but also very effective for protecting your brain. Okay, very effective for protecting your brain against Alzheimer's and dementia. So this is the biggest bang for your buck. It's great for your heart. It's great for your brain. Super important for both of those. This is something I take every day, and you just take it as directed. So I take two of these things a day as well. So pretty simple when it comes to that, because again, we're trying to reduce inflammation in the gut and overall, and when we do that, that allows the gut to start to heal. All right, and then the next one. What else are we trying to do? We're going to replenish. So we're repairing the gut, like we just talked about, with fish oil and your digestive enzymes, makes it easier to digest. And then you're going to replenish. Now, what do we need to replenish in the gut? Well, one of those, a lot of people say, well, like probiotics. And that's a good answer. But taking probiotics is a lot less effective than you would think. So I did a study, I did a whole continuing education, 12-hour continuing education class on this. And we looked at study after study after study. And it found that when you take a probiotic supplement, it doesn't actually get to your gut. 97% of that is killed in your stomach through the stomach acid, never makes it to the gut. And even if it does make it to the gut, as soon as you stop taking it, it doesn't stay in the gut, it gets flushed out. So that's why I tell people antibiotics are for a life-saving situation, not a sinus infection. A sinus infection is not a life-saving situation. You can take vitamin D, you can do a lot of other things, you can get adjusted to help that sinus infection go away. But we overprescribe antibiotics for things like ear infections, sinus infections, all of these things, chest infections that are viral, for crying out loud, people are taking antibiotics for. Antibiotics are to a life-saving situation, not to be taken every time that you come down with something. because we've taken so many antibiotics, now have antibiotic resistant bacteria like MRSA, because we've taken so many antibiotics that the bacteria have actually learned how to mutate, and now they're resistant to the bacteria, which you could very well die from if you get these types of infections. So we overuse antibiotics way, way, way too much. So your body can you could take probiotics and you could put good probiotics in your gut, which are beneficial bacteria. But a much better way of doing that is through foods. So probiotic foods would be things like kimchi, any fermented food, right? So that's fermented cabbage, sauerkraut, again, fermented cabbage. Low sugar kombucha. Kombucha is a drink that's fermented. Again, you want low sugar because we just talked about you want to get sugar out of your body so the gut can repair. Coconut milk yogurt or even regular Greek yogurt. All of those things are really good probiotic foods. And another great way of adding probiotics to your gut is something called prebiotics. Okay. Prebiotics is what your body uses because you're going to get probiotics from different foods. Prebiotics are what the probiotics feed on. So if you eat prebiotic food, then you're also going to be indirectly increasing your probiotics in your gut, which is really, really important. So what are prebiotics? Those are going to be things like beans. These are high fiber foods. Beans, berries, garlic, onions, oats, artichokes, bananas. All of those things are really good high fiber foods that are good for prebiotics, and prebiotics are going to promote probiotics. So the best way to improve your probiotic population in your gut is through foods, the foods that we just talked about right there. So not just taking a probiotic supplement. There's one probiotic supplement that's been shown to be effective of making it into the gut. It's called Lactobacillus reuteri. And Lactobacillus reuteri is one of the only ones that makes it into the gut. So if you're going to look for one to take, that would be one to take. But again, the people I say like, well, if I take antibiotics, I'll just take 30 days of probiotics and it's fixed. That's actually not the case. It takes up to 2 years to repair the gut once you've taken probiotics. And that's just the unfortunate, fact of the matter. So the more you do in these things that we just talked about, the faster that product or that process will actually happen. So then the last two things that are really important for the gut, vitamin D. Most of you are already taking vitamin D if you're watching this video and you're a patient in the office. Vitamin D is super important. So I recommend at least 5,000 IUs a day of vitamin D. Vitamin D also helps to create those tight junctions. And then the last one I do want to spend a few minutes on is GI Revive. Okay. So GI Revive is intestinal permeability support. That's what we're talking about here is permeability of the intestine. This acts kind of like spackle to smooth those tight junctions over again. So you stop letting things into the bloodstream and into the brain that shouldn't be there. And one of the best ways to do that, some of you have heard of, is called L-glutamine. Okay. But if you just take L-glutamine, you're missing the boat on a lot of other things that your body needs to repair the gut as well. So L-glutamine is a great one. But then this GI Revive, which is a powder that you put in water. This is peach flavored. It has several other cofactors that are very effective at repairing the gut lining. One is called N-acetylglucosamine. That actually acts like the spackle that's spackling it back together. Citrus pectin, very, very important because that's one of those prebiotics. Licorice extract, always been good for a lot of digestive issues. Aloe vera, same thing. Slippery elm. Gastric powder or gastric mucin powder, very important. All of those things are important for repairing the gut. And then you have marshmallow, chamomile, cat's claw, quercetin, which is anti-inflammatory. All of these things stop the breakdown of those tight junctions and repair that. So this is, again, 30-day supply, and I recommend doing this for 30 days. So if you do those things, if you remove the foods that have been causing the problem, so if you're getting rid of sugar and artificial sweeteners, if you're starting to eat good fats instead of bad fats, if you're avoiding the gluten like we talked about, then that's going to allow your body to start to heal. And then what do? You start to repair some of the damage, and that's with the digestive enzymes and the omegas. And then you start to repopulate or replenish with probiotics, prebiotics, and this GI Revive. And if you do that within 30 days, your gut looks different, and that's where those symptoms really start to improve. So that's your 30-day plan of healing leaky gut. Your digestive system issues should improve. Your skin issues should improve. Your sleep problems, your brain fog, your anxiety or depression, all of those things start to improve when your gut gets fixed because, again, your gut has so much to do with your brain and the rest of your body. So last thing I want to mention here, this is important because if the nervous system isn't working, it really doesn't matter what all these other things are doing. But what controls the gut and your digestive system is your nervous system. It coordinates everything in your body. So you have something called the vagus nerve, which goes in and innervates the stomach, innervates the small and large intestine. And when you get that vagus nerve functioning properly, it's amazing what happens. So I have a good example of this. So this is a patient of mine. His name's Tony. So Tony, this is me and him down here. And Tony came in with really bad acid reflux. And so when you have acid reflux, what do? They give you Prilosec, right? Now, Prilosec is a PPI, a proton pump inhibitor. Does it stop stomach acid? Yes, but your body needs stomach acid. The fact that you would just give this to someone to take every day the rest of their life because they have heartburn is insane to me. Because if you have heartburn, that's your body telling you something's wrong. It's telling you lack digestive enzymes. It's telling you that there's a leaky gut problem. And we just talked about how to fix that. So with him, he was dealing with all kinds of heartburn issues. But then I read him the side effects of Prilosec, which would be stomach pain. That's why he's taking this in the first place. But it causes stomach problems. It could cause diarrhea. It could cause seizures, brain fog, weight gain, dizziness, all of these things. And he had no idea that it caused all of these things. And he's like, yeah, I have that. I have that. I have that. So, and instead of doing that, what we did is we started taking care of his nervous system. And there's a nerve at the base of the brainstem right here that's called the vagus nerve that goes down to the stomach. Well, he had a problem in that area. We started correcting that area. And guess what happened to his heartburn? Heartburn completely gone. Heartburn gone just from the adjustment, right? Just from doing the adjustment, got rid of his heartburn. So there's much more sane ways of handling these things. So if you know anybody dealing with leaky gut, tell them about this protocol. If you know anybody with heartburn, refer them into our office so they can get off of their Prilosec and not have all of these side effects for the rest of their life. Because there's a much better way of doing it. Because what's happening right now, people have been lied to out there. You've been told by the pharmaceutical industrial complex that you are weak, broken, and defective. But the truth is you're not. Your body has an amazing ability to heal and be well. And that's what this leaky gut protocol is all about, allowing your body to heal so it can reset and be well. Because your body knows exactly how to do that as long as it's working without interference. So if you have any questions on any of those things, let me know. I'm going to put a link in the comments here. So if you need to go to our store and order these supplements and start taking those supplements, you can do that right away with this leaky gut protocol. If you need to watch the advanced nutrition plan video, that's under Axiom Answers YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and put in Axiom Answers. You can subscribe to that page as well, and that's going to get you everything that you need to get you back on your road to healing. By fixing the gut, we'll be fixing the brain, and we're going to make a huge difference in everything else that you're doing.